Plato tells a story. He refers to it as the allegory of the cave. A short version of it. An individual is tied to chairs in a cave with a flame behind them. This flame casts shadows that reflect the real world. One day an individual breaks loose and is able to see reality for what it is. It is bright and burns that individual's eyes. To understand the sun for the first time, they must stare into the water and see its reflections. Ultimately, over time, they're able to look up and see truth for what it is. They return to the cave to tell those that everything they know is a lie. They kill them for it. This is the last step of the hero's journey, where they must return to the cave, as we continue our discussion on Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces here on Circles Theory.
When it's gotta be this time. The sun starts to set and the moon shall rise.
When the hero's quest is complete, when they have died and become reborn, as we discussed in our last video, they must return home with the magical elixir. They must re-engage with society and share the magic they have engaged with. They must return with the life-transmuting trophy. They must come full round in the monomyth. This requires that the hero begins the labors of bringing home the runes of wisdom. This is my biggest problem with Peter Jackson's interpretation of Lord of the Rings, as Frodo's return home is the most important part, to re-engage and reconnect with the home. This is a hard and difficult task. The boon of renewing the community, the nation, the planet, the 10,000 worlds. The moment in which we must bring back what we have learned from diving and delving into the self. This responsibility is not often accepted. Even Buddha doubted if his message could be understood and could be communicated to others. If individuals would be able to understand that. Saints have reported to have passed away in this supernatural ecstasy as they attempt to transcend these messages. Numerous individuals and heroes have fabled to take up residence forever in the blessed isle of the goddess of the immortal being. Individuals choose once they reach enlightenment to keep it because they understand how difficult it is to share those ideas. As we noted in the introduction, they're often crucified for it. As we've seen countless times over and over, those who bring back new ideas that challenge the status quo are not often well received. This is the true tragedy of Socrates, as society was never going to allow him back. But if the hero was triumphant, if they gained the blessing of the god or goddess, then the return to the world with the elixir in the final stages is aided by their supernatural patron. This is the power of privilege, to have that assistance as one re-engages with the world. But we are not all afforded that ability. If we have to engage and obtain that ability against the opposition of the guardians who hold it, then the world has begun to be represented by demons. The last stage of the myth often at this point becomes a pursuit. The flight is laid with complications, marvels of obstruction and evasion. What I find interesting at this point is always some little fault, yet some critical symptom of the human fatality that makes impossible the open relationship between these two worlds. We can't create an open threshold and just show them, because humans are innately imperfect. It is always something of a human frailty that keeps us from being able to keep that open. Young in his work quotes a rabbi. He once asked why no one sees and hears from God anymore. The rabbi responded with, "There's no one who bows low enough." The point is that we are unable to keep the dream state open, to engage with our primordial conceptual dreamlike state. There's always some small accident that just, if it could be avoided, all would be well, but it always happens. I'm unwilling to accept the difficulty of this. Rollo May suggests that we must be courageous in our attempt to create something new. In one of my earlier series, which wasn't as well developed, this is the idea we discussed. I hope you take a look. The idea is that we need to gain the courageous strength to transcend our own fear, to integrate our own inner being, to engage our most powerful internal systems, to let the parasympathetic system and the sympathetic nervous system engage. And the challenge I pose to you, dear viewer, engage, create, bring your message home, be a hero, enter yourself, defeat the demons that are there, become the best version of yourself, and bring your magic back home, because we need it. Even though it's scary, because it leaves with one major complication. Because we have two options at that point. To die a hero, or watch ourselves become the villain. This is where we pick up next week, as we wrap up our series by discussing what it means to either transcend and become a hero, or become the villain that we fought so hard to defeat. So I hope to catch you next Thursday at 5. Thanks for watching this week's video on Joseph Campbell. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button, subscribe for future content, and if you learned something today, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to discuss it with you. We'll catch you next time at Circles Theory.